Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt. Welcome to the East Bank Sports Show, proudly brought to you by the Fanatical Elves, a member of the Fans First Sports Network. Broadcasting live from the vibrant East Bank of the Flats in Cleveland, Ohio. Join us as we delve into the heart of Cleveland sports. It's your hosts, Noah and Matt.
I apologize. There were some tech issues going on there. I don't know what was going on. We are here with the East Bank Sports Show. Matt, how we doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. We have a fun one today.
Yeah, we do, but I wanna start off spicy because I'm a little confused with your shirt. Since when are you a Navy football fan? I thought you were a Buckeye fan. What's going on, man?
Little background lore, you have to pick a second team. Rocking with the Navy football squad. Just always been a Navy guy.
Fair enough. Tim, thank you for tuning in as always. However, it was a Wi-Fi problem, not a Noah problem this time. And yes, go Army. Shout out my stepdad, Jay, if you're listening. Everybody, welcome into this On the Ride Home, wrapping up work edition of the East Bank Sports Show, though. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It helps us grow this channel a ton. Make sure you subscribe over at the Fanatical Elves. Shout out all the guys at the Fanatical Elves. And shout out Fans First Sports Network for placing the monetization on our show, as well as just giving us the ability to bring this show where we are today. I'm going to fix my TV real quick. We are just going in sloppy. I don't even care. I'm ready to go. Matt, we have a football game this weekend, man. We get to watch the Cleveland Browns play football, and I believe it is against the Green Bay Packers. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Matt, I want to know what you're looking for in this first preseason game. I know the title down there says the preseason games in total because that's kind of how I took it, but what are you thinking, man? Let's get after it.
I mean, really, the first thing I'm looking at is some of the young guys we brought in through the draft and through trades. I want to see what impact they're going to have, what roles they're going to have. I get obviously none of the starters are playing, so you're not going to see someone like Jerry Jeudy out there necessarily. But like one guy in specific I'm super excited about is the linebacker we drafted late, Nathaniel Watson. Like to see him and what he's capable of.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the young guys too, and I figured you would say that, so I stayed away from the cop-out answer that you just gave of I'd like to see the young guys. Yeah, I'm feeling feisty too. You came in feisty on the call before, so now I'm coming in feisty as well. That and Tim got me all angry saying I don't know how to use a computer, but I digress. The thing I'm looking forward to the most in this preseason game is the wide receiver room. I'm looking forward to seeing what guys like Cedric Tillman and David Bell are going to do this preseason, because I think us as Browns fans hyped them up to be, at least the third option on this team. And I haven't seen third, fourth, or fifth option production out of either of them to this point yet. Maybe Tillman. Tillman's had some ups and downs last year, but David Bell, I thought was for sure going to be Jarvis Landry 2.0 with how they were hyping him up in camp. Not because that was my personal opinion, but how Stefanski was talking about him, how the coaching staff was ecstatic to get him in where they did. I want to see what these guys have, because right now I think we kind of are showing a sign of drafting busts at receiver. And I don't want to call them busts because they're normally third, fourth round picks, whatever. But I want to see what these guys can do. And I really want to see if any of them can step up if we do move on from Amari Cooper after this year. What's your next point, Matt?
My next point is, I kind of touched on this last week, but I'm praying for some offensive play calling development. I've hit it probably 100 times on this episode about how I hate Kevin Stefanski's play calling. Obviously, he's sticking with it for this season. We already talked about that. So hopefully he gets better at it. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, my next part is, and I'm a little less critical about Stefanski, but I'm going to let you have your moment because that's how you feel. And I think the fan base has some opinions that agree with you there, even though I don't agree with it. Something I want to see in this preseason in general is no starters playing. Right before we went live, Zadarius Smith left camp today with an injury. Matt, I know I'm just breaking this to you right now, probably, but was shipped out like in an ambulance with an injury. So I don't want to see any of these starters touch the field. I don't need an unnecessary injury to anybody after what I saw last season with this Cleveland Browns team. I don't want to see, I mean, you're probably going to see it, but I personally do not want to see a single starter touch the field this year. Matt, do you got another point you want to go into?
I mean, really, the last one I had was more of a minor, something I'm kind of nerding out on is what's our defensive scheme and play calling going to look like? Because I've been kind of nervous. We had a very good defense last year, but you give the NFL and all of the great minds in the NFL an offseason to look at that, break it down, and pick it apart. They're going to. So I'm not saying we can't be good again, but we just, we need to develop and continue to get better. So I'm going to be paying very close attention to see what looks a little different. Maybe we're a little more aggressive sending linebackers or something, little switch ups like that. That's what I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think that is one of my fears as well, where I'm kind of at a point where, like, is this Browns team really going to be able to put two seasons back to back together? We've seen Stefanski win two Coach of the Year awards, and that's fantastic. But I feel like we haven't seen fully back to back seasons put together. I know there was some issues with like the Baker injury and then the Deshaun suspension, but there's no excuses that this team to not make the playoffs. This team needs to be in the playoffs this year at bare minimum. Bare minimum is a playoff berth in my mind. The last thing I want to touch on, because, we always got to fall in love with a couple of these like random names on our roster, right? Some of the smaller guys to get you excited for the preseason games, right? My guy this year is Matt Landers. He was an XFL player, wide receiver for the San Antonio Brahmas. Last day in Greenbrier, he had 5 total touchdowns during that practice. I know we're talking practice touchdowns, and Matt, you gave me shit for it last time and everything. But, when you're producing on the field with your second, third, fourth string quarterback, I want to see what he looks like come this Green Bay Packers game. It's Saturday, I believe, right? It's not a Sunday game.
Yes, it is Saturday.
Yes, that's what I thought. So I'm really excited to see what he looks like. He was on Seattle on a bunch of practice squads, then had a good season with the Brahmas, and now he's on our, 90-man camp roster. Not saying he's going to make the roster, but I'm excited to see what he does because it's the preseason, and that's where I'm at right now. Matt, anything else you want to touch on with this preseason game? I'm getting excited. I'm so happy I get to see the brown and orange on a football field for the first time in months.
It's actually kind of funny you bring up, I'll be quick about this. It's just a funny little story of mine. You bring up, falling in love with a player during camp and preseason time. I get so scared to do that for myself now anymore because I'm sure you remember him, but I don't know how many of our viewers will. Damian Sheehy Giuseppe, that wide receiver we brought in.
The dude who was homeless and snuck in, and OBJ gave him cleats back in the day. Yeah, I love that story. I was at that preseason game when he returned the kick. Actually, that's a fun addition for me. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
He had a good camp and a good preseason, and I fell in love with him. Obviously, he has an awesome story, and not awesome for him, but the fact that he was trying to make it that far. I just fell in love, and then we cut him, and he never got another shot, and that kind of ruined falling in love with the borderline guys.
Think he's in the UFL now too, like my guy was, but he's still playing football, which is dope, but unfortunately not in the NFL. Matt, I'm going to cut us to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the topic that got us kind of spicy because I'm over here sipping some Kool-Aid. Matt, even though he's wearing the hat, is not sipping the Kool-Aid. That's your hint. We'll be right back with the East Bank Sports Show on your commute home if you're tuning in live. We'll be right back. And we're back with the East Bank Sports Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It really helps us grow when you hit the subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Make sure you hit our follows on Twitter, too. We got the @ names. I threw shots at Matt for not posting tweets. I'm going to make him do it more to help grow the brand. Damn it. But, Matt, I want to talk about a little baseball team right up yonder that has a special place in mine and yours heart, the Cleveland Guardians. Are the Cleveland Guardians the best team in baseball? We've been up and down and through the ringer with this team, even though they currently have the best record in the league with a 6.04 winning percentage, 67-44, going into the Diamondback series tonight at 6:40 at Progressive Field. Matt, please tell these people why or why not they are not the best team in baseball.
They're not. I hate saying it. I'm a number one Cleveland Guardians fan. They're not the best team in baseball. You can't be the best team in baseball if you have a bottom 5 starting rotation. And that's what we have.
You're leaving. Okay, that's your opening. All right. My argument to this is simple, right? It's very simple. I think we have shown at this point we can hang with the best of them. We have the best record in baseball. So therefore, 2 + 2 sometimes does in fact equal 4. Guardians best team in baseball. Now I'll get a little bit more analytical. Do I think they're truly the best team roster-wise in baseball? No, but are they the best team in baseball when it comes to everything I've seen and everything, the bare minimum fact of who has the best record in baseball right this very moment as me and Matt are talking? It's the Cleveland Guardians, and they've added smart pieces. We didn't get a chance to talk about this yet, but we added Lane Thomas and Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb was an all-star last year. Yes, he is returning from an injury. He's supposed to be here sooner rather than later. Really excited to see him pitch. I think he's going to be great for us in this rotation. And Lane Thomas has been steady so far, which is totally fine. He's getting adjusted to a new ballpark, getting adjusted to a new team. But, he's still taking walks. He's not just swinging at everything. I know he's more of a contact batter. But both of the additions that we made at the trade deadline for me made the most sense. If you know this front office and you thought we were going to go get Vladdy and Bo Bichette and whatever big name out there that you were trying to think of that this team would get, I think you were sadly mistaken unless they were going to give it to us for a prospect and a double cheeseburger from McDonald's with the coupon I got for going to the game yesterday. Matt, what are you thinking? Continue on with your points.
I agree with you wholeheartedly in the, keep it simple. We have the best record in baseball. We've beat some of the best teams in baseball. It is hard. I do want to say it is hard for me to sit here and make the argument that we're not. And I do feel like I'm being kind of the cynical Cleveland fan in all of us right now.
You mean the glass half empty individual that you've been since the day I met you, Matt? Continue.
I don't know if I would call it that. Anyway, let me read off some things. And if you don't start sweating by the 4th one, the last one, I'm going to be shocked. Our starting pitching this year, 24th out of 30th in starting ERA, 29th out of 30th in home runs allowed, 22nd in walks, and 26th in innings pitched. And
I have to say to that? You know what I have to say to that? Debbie Downer Matt. Yeah. Continue.
I bring up these for a reason. These specific stats. ERA, obviously, everybody knows why that's important. We give up a lot of runs with our starters. You can't do that. I framed a lot of my thinking for this and, come playoff time. When the best team in baseball is crowned, the playoffs, that's where we need to show that we're the best team. You're not going to do that with a horrible starting ERA. You get behind early, you're not winning playoff games. You live and you die by the long ball and the home run. Or in the postseason, 90% of the time. We give up the second most out of anybody. We give up a lot of walks, and we don't pitch a lot of innings with our starters. That's going to kill our bullpen. And granted, our bullpen's been awesome this year, but we can't have them pitching 5 innings of every playoff game.
You are pissing off our Cincinnati fan friend, Tim Lyons. He told me to mute you. I agree with what you're saying. I understand the skepticism, right? There was a time not too long ago, I believe it was the Kansas City Royals, had very similar pitching production. And this is me trying to remember something I read on the internet, so I'm not going to be completely 100% correct on this, and I apologize for that. That had very similar pitching production out of their starting lineup, but they were hitting so well and their bullpen was that damn good that they won a World Series. This was like, I think 2014 or something like that. Don't quote me. I'm trying to figure this out. I know you're a Cards fan, Tim, my bad. But with that being said, you know, they even pitched a bullpen game from what I remember reading this article and won a World Series. So I agree with you. I am as concerned with pitching as we have talked about on probably the last 10 episodes of the East Bank Sports Show. However, we have the best record in baseball. You know the meme where it's like LeBron, whatever, Cavs in 4? Guards in 4, baby. Let's go. I am sipping the Kool-Aid like I have been all season, because why shouldn't I? We're in August and we're the best team in baseball. It's not like we started off 20-0 and oh my God, the Guardians are the greatest thing ever. We have consistently played good teams. We split a series this weekend with one of the best teams in baseball. Looked good against them in the first 2 games. Saturday was rough. Sunday was okay. Move on. We're going on to the Diamondbacks, and I'm ready to watch some playoff baseball. October cannot come soon enough. And I say that because I'm ready for the fall, I'm ready for the football, and I'm ready for the October baseball, baby. Matt, you got anything else you want to touch on this before we go into the Cavaliers? Perfect. Let's go into the Cleveland Cavaliers, because I saw an interesting article today that popped up that's going to kind of throw this topic in a curveball. But the topic is the Cavs seem to be sticking with their big 4, their core 4: Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. Matt, I want to know what you think about this, and then we'll talk about, you know, what I was telling you on the side before we got on the show, you know, earlier in text. What do you think about this? Because I know you're a core 4 guy.
I mean, I like the idea of keeping it together. It gives, you know, a new coaching staff kind of a direction to start on. You know what the team's got, you know what the team's capable of. You've seen them together for a few years on the floor now. It allows you to have a good vision of, you know, what you're coming into and what you need to build on. Obviously, he's been with the team for a good while now, so he should have that idea. But I mean, I just like the idea of, you know, continuity, keeping the same guys in Cleveland. It's always a good thing, especially when we're keeping all-stars and, you know, league leaders.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, the more and more I've sat on this throughout the offseason, especially understanding the cap situation with the Cleveland Cavaliers right now and everything, to me, it makes the most sense to just keep it and see what happens with a better offensive-minded coach, some better pieces around them potentially, even though we haven't made very many bench moves, if any at all, I don't think, other than the NBA draft where we drafted Jalen Tyson. With that being said, though, as I'm writing the script, not that there's a script, but the outline of what we were going to talk about when we both got off work today was an article that came out that said, well, Jared Allen basically had to sign the contract because there was no way they could trade him without it. So it sounds like maybe the odd man out now is Jared Allen. And I kind of wanted to hear your reaction of that to me, Matt, because to me, I feel like the odd man out has always been Darius Garland in terms of the media. But I have an interesting thought on this. I want to hear yours first.
I mean, it's really just like an interesting thing to me. I don't really put too much weight into it in general. I mean, the extension means he's in Cleveland for the time being. You know, I'm going to keep my tunnel vision on here. We've signed all our key pieces this offseason. Everything in my mind points to wanting to keep it together. In my eyes, this article is more of like this is a potential scenario type deal. You know, maybe we couldn't have traded him if that's the route we wanted to go, but that I don't think that is the route we want to go. And I don't think the contract necessarily points towards us wanting to trade him either.
Yeah. So I got thinking, right? Because at first I was like, "What? We signed all core four. Last year it was Darius Garland. This year it was the other three, right?" And then I started thinking, and I started thinking some more about which pieces, could be in a better position. I've always kind of been a proponent in my mind of Evan Mobley playing center as opposed to power forward. We want him to bulk up. I think he has the skill set to defend. I mean, he has the skill set to defend 1 through 5 on the court. If you move Evan Mobley to center and you bring in a guy in a trade like Brandon Ingram that we have talked about multiple times on this show before. Now, I don't know if that trade would make sense. I don't know if that trade works on paper. I don't know what that looks like, and I'm not here to mock a trade today. I'm just telling you my thoughts of what I was thinking. Bringing in a scoring threat who is a tall, lengthy, small forward who we have needed for years on this roster at the sacrifice of a guy like Jared Allen, who is one of the best controllable assets at center in the NBA right now that will actually be moved, not like Evan Mobley, Victor Wembanyama, blah, blah. I could see that being the Cavs' sexy move this offseason, man. I don't mean it has to be Brandon Ingram. I always use him as an example because I want to get off the trade block. But to me, man, I could see it making sense for the Cleveland Cavaliers, man. That's just me, though. That's just me. Matt, what do you think of that take? Because I know that's an interesting one, to say the least.
I mean, my initial reaction, and obviously haven't had time to sit down and think about it and look at, paper, what all like stats and all that. But I mean, I don't hate it. I agree that we need another scoring threat. And if we have the right pieces to shuffle around and make the trade work where we're not stressing our roster too hard in other areas, I don't see why not. I mean, I definitely don't hate it. And I've never been. I like Jared Allen. I'm not a lover of Jared Allen. Like, I think he's a phenomenal player, but I just don't have any special feelings towards him as a Cleveland player necessarily.
Uh-huh.
So it wouldn't pain me to see him go either.
Yeah, I'm a Jared Allen fan, honestly, right? That's kind of my thing is I am a Jared Allen fan, so it hurts a little bit. But to me, I think if you're trying to make a splash move and trying to make this big move that the NBA is, so known for, right? This could be the piece that they're looking to move as opposed to Darius Garland, as opposed to, I mean, they're not going to move Evan Mobley or Donovan Mitchell, but maybe the national media has had it wrong the entire time. And that's kind of what my hot take is today. Matt, well, not my hot take. That's just my take right now. But Matt, I want to know anything else Cleveland Cavaliers you want to talk about before we go into final thoughts and takes?
I think I'm good to go.
All right, man. Let's get into final thoughts and takes. I love doing these shorter episodes with you. It's been refreshing. I love doing my At the Office show with John and Eric, but, we do be yapping on that thing for a while because we get into some deeper topics and things. So I enjoy the mixture I get in my week when I have a 30-minute show and an hour show. Matt, I want to know, what is your final thoughts and take on this week in Cleveland sports?
Not in Cleveland sports. Navy's beating Army this year.
You're just trying to get heat with Tim Lyons now. That's all you're trying to do. My final thought and take is Cleveland oriented. It's really NFL oriented, but it's Cleveland oriented. Matt, did you get to see the sideline hats for this year yet?
I actually have not.
Well, you're in for a real treat. And if your favorite type of treat is like salad without dressing, here you have it. Look at these hats and how rough they are. I don't mind the one on the far right. The one in the middle and the one on the left leaves a lot to be desired for me. Matt, I want your reaction on these hats real quick. You there?
Those are
Oh, you're in
arguably
shock.
the ugliest things I've ever seen. No, you got to take this home. I got to go throw up in the toilet.
Yeah, the plaid hats make no sense to me. With that being said, thank you for tuning into the East Bank Sports Show. Matt has to go take care of business, apparently. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. It helps us grow a ton. Thank you for tuning in live on your commute home, if that's what you're doing. If you're listening after the fact, sorry for the technical issues again. Can't always help it with my downtown Wi-Fi, but it is what it is. And until next time, Cleveland, have a great rest of your week. And go Browns, because it's game week, baby. Let's go.